Well, welcome, Anthony Ralston. Thank you for doing this little mini interview.
Sure.
Can I just ask you to give a little bit of a background of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm an education design consultant. I work primarily with the United Nations. I'm based in Canada, but work with the United Nations agencies in different countries on everything from policy development for online learning, through to developing training programs, developing e-learning, in some cases mobile learning solutions. Background in university and higher education, and also a background in television and media production, which figures prominently in the kind of work I do now, so a lot of video for learning. So
Right.
that's a
Wonderful.
short snippet of
a lot of
what I do.
international work that you do, and yesterday you spoke at the conference. You gave your talk about the teacher training you are doing in the Maldives.
Right.
Can you give a little bit of an overview of what
Sure.
the main point was from your talk?
So this came about actually in 2017, and UNICEF spend a lot of time and resources supporting countries and ministries of education, particularly with education development. So UNICEF is a very broad scoped UN agency, and they have the resources to do this. So this particular project started in 2017, and so I flew to the Maldives and was there on the ground and worked with UNICEF officials and the National Institute of Education. So that's the K-12 equivalency for the Maldives for education. They had some technology, so they had a Moodle environment, online Moodle courses. They were getting into Google, so Google Suite at the time. But they found that their teachers, their teacher trainers, their professional development trainers lacked some of the pedagogical and technological capacity to utilize the technology. So they really want to increase the capacity. So ostensibly it was to come up with a policy document for teachers to teach online or through blended methodologies. Because in the Maldives, as you know, it's a series of islands or atolls. So the schools are located on different islands, so there's not really that physical connection. So there was a development of the policy document, development of an operational strategy document as well. So how would they operationalize this over a series of a couple of years? I helped them develop a certification program for teachers as a professional development activity that would range everything from instructional design approaches through to how do you build a Moodle course and how do you teach in Moodle. Obviously, it took them a few years to start implementing this, but they got in touch with me last year to take a specific group of teachers from different areas, totaling 350 teachers. That included what they call teacher trainers and professional development trainers as well, and provide them with online training sessions that spoke to specific needs assessment that they did. So increased capacity using Google Meet and all of the Google tools, increased capacity in designing learning assessments for lower grades. So these, in particular, these would be for students who are ages 6 to 12.
Right.
That was the real need that they had. And so the project was for me to design synchronous training that would be delivered over a 4-month period to 3 separate groups with specific intentions and specific objectives, and to then provide a written summary or written report, do a bit of needs assessment and surveys and things like that, and come up with a summary report based on that. So that's ostensibly how that kind of worked.
And what did you find? I mean, the pedagogical aspect of how to use technology in teaching is so important, and that often is what teacher training is required. It should be focusing on, because technology can be worked out, but it's very much a pedagogy that is difficult sometimes to enable. What was the main thing that you thought was?
I found that because I did the surveys before the training started, so the training started in October, and late September I was able to send out the surveys and get responses. They, as context, the teachers there teach from a British syllabus. Mm-hmm. They're highly educated. They know learning theories and learning methodologies quite well. What they required was, I think, increased knowledge and application of how to build assessments for online and how to use the technology. Right. So if I spoke to them about collaborative learning approaches or flipped classrooms, they knew all of that. Mm-hmm. They may not have had a lot of experience, maybe a little, but they had an appreciation. Right. So it was really to, and this was the challenge, to over synchronous environments through Google Meet, show them how to use the technology and why we would use it. Right. So that each session had a kind of a predictable flow. So I would talk about a theory, so whether that's flipped classrooms or some assessment methodology, and then we would pick a tool, and they would go into a breakout room, and they were asked to come up with an example and then share it back to the classroom.
And what is a tip that you would give to teachers anywhere on how to create that kind of engagement?
Practice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about practice, and they really appreciated the fact that there were practical exercises within the training, and all of the practical exercises were in tools that, in the Google Suite, they were tools that they were able to save what they were working on from the aspect of what had they been learning. Okay. So they came away with practical examples from Jamboard, for example, if they were using Jamboard, or doing some video editing, because we did video editing in the sessions. So they were able to come away with an example and then look back at that and realize, okay, it took this much time to do this, so then I can then transfer that into the classroom.
Wonderful.
Or teaching environment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, looking now, we're at the Learning Ideas Conference. What is a key idea that you're walking away with from this conference? There's so many that.
Yeah, there's a lot, but I think one thing that struck me over the last 2 years, so really when the pandemic really started to take hold, is the perspectives people have about instructional design and course development. And I think that it's safe to say the pandemic has brought a lot of things to light. I mean, pre-pandemic, there was online learning, there were learning management systems, there were different tools that we could use to teach, but the pandemic really accelerated all that because it's pervasive in the society now. And I think what I'm seeing is that there is an increased need for universities or even organizations to understand what designing education really means and what it takes. Yes. And the importance of how can instructional design or course development design impact and influence how education is built. How does it integrate technology? What kind of instructional methods are being used? Is it student-centered? You know, these things are very important, and I think that's something that needs a lot of attention. Absolutely, and we've been definitely discussing a lot of those ideas and the importance of having focus on that, on the design and the preparation to do it thoughtfully. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you doing this interview. Thank you. Thank you.